Hello everybody and welcome back to Kerbal Space Program, where it's just about time we put the R&D department through their paces again, having gained rather a lot of scientific development through Val and brave poor Jeb's explorations of nearby space. So, what can we afford in the R&D department? We've got survivability, basic rocketry. What's up this way? Advanced rocketry we can definitely afford. But what does it actually give us? Liquid fuel engine, and a fuel tank. Huh. Now, hang on. Oh, third liquid fuel engine. I've just realised something. Oh no, cool. It's the Thumper booster. I remember one of the contracts, which I think I almost picked up and then didn't, was to haul a third liquid fuel engine into space. I'm quite glad I didn't, because that means I'd have had to buy this, and quite frankly, so far, I've not been impressed by liquid fuel rockets. I'm sure they are useful, but so far, I'm much happier with my solid fuel rockets for the initial stage boosts that we need. General construction, what's available here? New equipment in helping out in keeping things stable, especially useful when the size of the spacecraft defies the current bounds of sanity. Well, that sounds exactly like the sort of stuff I do. Mark 1 crew cabin, strut connector. Hang on, once both sides are connected, a structural beam is created to link both ends, allowing for sturdier and heavier construction. That does sound like something I need, actually. This is 45 science for this. Structural fuselage carries no fuel, as merely there is a structural element. It's lighter and more solid due to reinforcements. Okay, handy. Rockomax brand decoupler. That's bigger. Rockomax is pleased to bring you the latest in decoupling technologies, twice the size of the next leading brand. Rockomax decouplers offer plenty of bang for plenty of buck. As with its smaller, woefully inferior competitor, the Rockomax decoupler has handy arrows to indicate which side it will detach from. That's handy. A Rockomax adapter. And a launch stability enhancer. Yes, please. The TT-18A stability enhancer uses groundbreaking fastening technology to significantly increase the stability of spacecraft during the pre-launch phase. While the OMB demolition has been criticised in the past for using big fancy words for a rocket holder in their description of their device, none can say the TT-18 series doesn't deliver rock-solid clamping action as advertised. The owner's manual strongly suggests these devices be placed on the bottommost section of the spacecraft and activated as soon as the engines are lit for optimal declamping performance. That actually seems very handy. What's in aviation? Oh, aviation is the bit where we can start making planes. Tempted to go down that route because I know there are a few contracts for ferrying people around, which aviation seems like a much more useful way of doing that. Flight control. Controls. They're probably useful. Tumbling out of control may be fun, but our engineers insist there's more to rocket science than that. So there's a winglet. So far I hate winglets, so that's already put me off. There's our reaction wheel, which uses a series of spinning discs that are going very fast to generate the torque necessary to control the spacecraft without wasting propellant. Please do not attempt to service this device while it is running. No, that seems like a poor idea. And basic science, which gives us a battery pack, a thermometer, radiator panels, and some comms. Tough choice, but I think all in all, I'm probably going to go for general construction for the minute. That seems like the sort of stuff I need. And the rest are also all 45 science, so we will actually need to go out and do some more missions before we can get anything else out of this. Right. So we need to get the BACC Thumper booster into a suborbital trajectory over Kerbin. What else can we get? Something to haul the parachute into flight above Kerbin. Sure. I'm sure we can do that. Has to be going between those speeds at that altitude. We can probably do that. Is there anything else we want to try? Ah, the radial mount parachute. Let's just, for now, have... Mark 16 parachute, because we can do that one at the same time as we're doing our other current contract and get a bit of extra science while we're at it. So, tell you what we haven't done, which might just give us a quick edge for science, is if we, very simply, build the smallest thing we can, put some science, and some extra science, test it all on the ground and then bring it back. Because I don't think we've actually conducted ground tests of all this stuff. Observe materials bay. The materials show little signs of change. Yeah, because we haven't moved. Though one of the samples appears to be judging you silently. Let's keep the data. Mystery goo. Observe. The goo doesn't seem to be doing much. Again, we haven't moved, but that's fine. And observe the mystery goo to do a bit more. Keep all the data. Recover the vessel. What an exciting mission that was. But it gave us like 11 science, so I'm not complaining. Lots of data gathered. And it didn't cost us anything because we got all the parts back. Yeah, amazing. Okay, now let's try the slightly more complicated task of getting the big rocket out into space. Let's move that up because I get the feeling this rocket's going to need to be a bit bigger. Now that we've got those structural things, we should be able to do a bit more. Parachute. Parachute seems like a good idea. And heat shield. We will be wanting one of those because we'll be flying very high indeed. Heat shield is in aerodynamics. And that's enough for that section, I think. So, decoupler. Decoupler, that's what I'm looking for next, which is in structural. There. And rocket. We would like to have a thumper, because we're just trying to get the thumper up there. And then we'll leave that as our final stage. So what we can actually do is put some radial decouplers on. Let's put 3 radial decouplers on. Can we put them directly below one another? If we use an angle snap actually to make sure that we get these just right. So we have them just so. And then we stick some thumpers on there. No, that hasn't worked. Of course it hasn't worked. It's going to be a pain again, isn't it? Right. Stick, damn you. Yeah. Stick on. Okay, well that hasn't worked. Or at least not exactly the way I'd have wanted it to. Ha! Close enough. And that'll need nose cones. So now... Aha. I think those struts will let me do new stuff now. If I put some stack decouplers on my outer rockets, and then I stick another set of thumpers there. Now beforehand, we'd have had problems. because those would have wobbled wildly. However, now we can stick it all together. Ha ha ha! Like real professional astronauts. And that shouldn't wobble now. Or shouldn't wobble as much anyway. I think, though, that we're going to need more of those to get into space. More rockets seems like fun. If not sensible, it certainly seems like interesting fun. So, more rockets it is. And structural again. Strut connectors. Doodly doo. Get to stick it all together. I get to stick it all together. It's probably not exactly even on all sides, but it looks close enough. It's a bit wonky. Now, is the initial 3 rockets going to be enough? Probably not, so if we stick more rocket to our rocket, and then we put those cones. Aha, I think I'm going to like this strut connector, you know. I think this is going to be my new favourite toy. Okay, it's all a little bit wonky, but put those all in at once because I want all those 6 rockets firing at the same time. Okay, so we've got 6 bottom rockets firing at the same time. Detaching all those, firing those 3 rockets. Detaching all those, firing those 3 rockets. Detaching them, and the final thumper. Then detaching, and then our parachute. Amazing! That's going to be awful. I love it. Let's go. I hope this works, because I'm so hyped for these strut connectors to work. Okay. We're looking sort of stable. We'll wait for the wobble to stop, because we're quite tall, so there will be a bit of wobble. And we've got Bill on board. He's an engineer, not a pilot, so that'll actually lower the stability a bit. But wish me luck. Go, Bill, go! Onwards and upwards. Everything looking stable, not too much wobble. I'm liking it. Keep this up, Bill. Keep this pointing up. Oh my lord, the stability those structural connectors afford me is glorious. Look at this. Look at this. I'm flying in a straight line. Nobody's dead. And it wasn't even that difficult to build. Detach. Fire. Okay, so this is the second stage going off. We're rapidly accelerating now. We're at 350 meters per second. 9,000 meters, 10,000 meters up. And rising steadily. Haven't even touched the controls other than firing the next stage, so Bill is basically unnecessary. And that's just fine. Nope, not even any spin. No wobble, no spin. Oh, this is amazing. We're going to get way off the ground, which is precisely what we want to do. We've got to get that thumper into a suborbital trajectory 170,000 meters up. Okay, so even with all these rockets, that's probably still going to be quite a challenge. But we are now going over 1,000 meters per second, which is pretty quick. Slightly off center, but that's fine. We're in a decent trajectory now. We are certainly well above the surface of Kerbin. That's nearly 60,000 meters passing us by. We're officially into orbit according to our little... And according to the music, we're officially in orbit. Detach those radially. What does our orbital map say? Our orbital map says we're going for fucking miles. I love it. Right. We can leave those for a bit. Yes, we did in fact complete the contract. We got it plenty high enough. We just sort of had to get it to the right altitude and leave it to go. We'll be passing over Jeb's orbit in a minute. Whee! Look, Jeb, we're higher than you are. Nearly 500,000 meters away from the surface of Kerbin. Okay, now we're going to slightly want to change the trajectory. Because if we don't slightly change the trajectory, we're going to crash into the surface of Kerbin and die horribly. Because we need to be going at a proper angle to not crash. Just changing our flight path ever so slightly. Okay, we're almost at a stage where we actually want to detach from these. Crap. Okay. Change the flight path. Okay. So that now gives us a nice straight line flight path, which will take us into the ocean of Kerbin at a nice angle, plenty enough of an angle to get lots of braking off that heat shield from the atmosphere. So, back to staging. And come on, Bill, let's land this. Okay, back into the atmosphere. Aim the heat shields in the direction we want to use them as a brake. That was some of our other parts landing and exploding. Glad it's not us. Okay, now hopefully we can actually slow down enough in the atmosphere with that angle to get our parachute to the right speed at the right altitude and test it all at the correct places. You have to have it have to be slowed down to below 170 meters per second at over 5,000 meters in altitude. We're rapidly decelerating, but are we decelerating fast enough? Slightly worried about that heat shield. Starting to burn up a bit. Need to decelerate faster than this, Bill. Slowing down. Slowing down. I don't think we're going to hit the right velocity before we hit that 5,000 meter mark, but at least we should survive all this. No, we failed that testing at least, but we are, let's say we've hit safe velocity to open the parachute, but we were below 3,500 meters when we did. So that is an engineering challenge that we will have to solve on our next attempt. In the meantime, at least we know Bill got back safe and in fact tested the thumper at that slightly ridiculous altitude and came home safely, although we may have some distance to travel to recover what's left of his vessel and get him home. Fantastic. take a crew report from splashdown in the ocean. Record the crew's assessment of the situation. It's an extra 2 science. I might as well keep it. Recover the data and the vessel and, you know, Bill too, because he's handy. Okay, extra science, sure. Moving on. We recovered some bits. And a bill. We still need to test that parachute though. So, we shall have to find another way to do that. Conduct a focused observational study of Kerbal using a flight report below 16,500 meters near zone 807 HD. Alright, let's take that one on. And if we do that, then we'll want to build a fairly small rocket, I imagine. Yet not this crazy construction, so we can remove, like, all of that. Yeah, let's keep the basics on. So the command pod, obviously the parachute, might as well keep the heat shield in place. Probably won't need it, but better safe than sorry. And a decoupler. We don't want to go too high, and we want to be able to adjust our path. Now might be the time to attempt to use some of those liquid fuel engines, actually. Because we've got a lot more control over those. So, there's a fuel tank. And probably a little bit more fuel. No, we don't need too much fuel. Let's just stick an engine on that. The swivel will give us lots of control and get us to the right area at the right time, even if it's not mega powerful. Then, structural. Put a stack decoupler underneath it. And stick... what can we put under it? Probably don't need too much, so let's stick a hammer on the underside. And then let's completely ignore the fact that we said not adding too much is a good idea. And put some radial decouplers on. Because we want to get a little bit of power in here. So, 3-sided symmetry. And let's clamp some thumpers on. Well, that looks like they're attached to the decouplers. Are they? I can't tell. Those are definitely attached to the decouplers. They're also too high off the ground. So, let's attach them like that. That looks better. Then, obviously, nose cones for them. And to make sure it doesn't all fall apart, because it probably won't, but this is my new favourite toy. Clamp. Yep. Click. There we go. And... wait, no, I can't do that, because if I do that... ah! Obviously, if I connect it by a strut, then they won't detach. What a fool. Don't make that mistake. How do I remove it? Aha! There you go. What I will do is tie them together to reduce wobble. Although, radially decoupling that might prove interesting. Hopefully it'll just sort of drop off. Yeah, radially decoupling, that's going to be interesting, actually. Let's see if it works. I'm now less worried about whether it does or not, and more curious to see if it sort of gives us a problem. Because I've got a sneaking suspicion that that's not actually going to detach properly. But it's worth a try. Just for curiosity's sake. Experiments! Okay, so it's really not far away, so let's navigate to zone 807 HD. We, in fact, almost definitely don't need this much rocket. Let's aim them in the correct direction. Okay, we definitely don't have anywhere near as much control over this with Bill. It is that way. We're going that way. Or we're trying to go that way anyway, but what little control we have isn't taking us that way very well. Mostly we're just... I'm holding the control to go that way, but we are mostly just going up. Oh, it did work. Even if it exploded quite a lot after that. Well, we are quite a long way away from where we were meant to be, which is rather a problem. So, let's revert that flight because we don't need anywhere near that much power. I'll be honest, we can probably scrap the entire thumper section. I may have overestimated just how much boom I needed. And probably the hammer and the swivel will get us where we need to go, considering we actually need to be below 16,500 meters when we make our crew report. So, activate navigation. And go. Right, we've also got more control now that we're not so huge. Yep, and we're flying a little more sideways now, rather than just straight up, which is good on several counts. Let's detach that. Whoops, even if we have lost quite a lot of control by doing that. Actually, this will probably give us... yeah, we're going to slow right down any second now, which will actually give us the Mark 16 parachute test conditions almost perfectly. Which is rather fun considering it's not at all what we intended to do. Okay, Bill, up. Let's keep us aimed that way. Okay, so we've got the data, but we're also flying the wrong way, so, haha, gotcha! Flying in the opposite direction to the one in which we are currently actually moving will mean that we just sort of spin around in the air and don't have any real speed. We're going about 10 meters per second. So we can actually just open up the parachute there. Well, that was weird. We basically just used everything as a brake in midair. Used our own engines as a brake in midair, and now we can just let it drop away from us. But we got the crew report at the right place, at the right height. We got the parachute into the right place at the right time. I'm glad that hit the ground just in advance of us, so that we weren't in the blast radius. And Bill is evidently quite happy about that fact too. So we can confirm our contracts and return safely home with what's left of our vessel. Amazing, Bill, you did it! Congratulations! Woo! Came back with 3.5 science. Yeah! And we get different science reports from different areas over Kerbal. Well, that's handy to know. As that was grasslands, so obviously we'll probably get one for mountains and sea, and maybe if there's any other ocean areas. Are there deserts on Kerbal? Be interesting. So, contract complete. Contract complete. Plenty of extra funding, bit of extra reputation, and some science. Awesome. What next? Fly by the moon? Oh, now that does seem ambitious. And fun. I like ambitious and fun. It seemed awful for the chief bookkeeper passing by Kerbal World First Record Keeping Society that we knew very little about whether the effects of being in microgravity were still very much unknown. Admittedly, the way we would often see an unacceptable new discovery was how we started testing whether being in zero-G really was as remarkable as it seemed. That apparently ended up raising more questions than answers, and this is why we're here. Today is your lucky day. Simply head to the moon and pass by it. Easy as pie, no risk at all. Now, sign this waiver. Oh, and it expires in like 5 days. Ooh. Fly a vessel anywhere nearby the moon to achieve this goal. How near is near? Oh, I so want to try that though. Oh, it's got to be done, hasn't it? It's only worth like 8 science, but 19 points of reputation seems handy. And gather science data from space around Kerbin. Oh, well, those are definitely contracts I want to take on. It's got to be done. Ambitious, but we've got to try it. In preparation for it, we should probably pick up some more stuff. Flight control could be handy with those inline reaction wheels. But what have we gained access to with our construction? Fuel systems, advanced construction and aerodynamics, but we can't afford any of those because they're 90 science apiece. Wow, they are expensive. So, aviation doesn't give us anything we would want for this mission. Basic science gives us batteries and thermometers and radiator panels. Okay, those all seem really quite handy. The Stay Putnik. The Stay Putnik offers the ultimate solution in crew safety. A lightweight sphere equipped with remote receivers and relay control input from the ground to the craft. It carries no crew at all, thus keeping them perfectly safe from all harm. This device does require electricity to operate, however, and will cease to function if the power runs out. The built-in battery should keep it going for about 10 minutes. Huh. Right. I'm very tempted to use all this stuff. Flight control also seems sort of sensible. But advanced rocketry just gives us liquid fuel stuff. Oh, hang on though. This thud. After an intensive search for an engineer crazy enough to plan and build a revolutionary new engine type, researchers turned to renowned engineer Human Kerman, one of the top minds in the industry. He failed miserably at the job, and this is what we ended up with. Hey, at least it works well with other large, so Rockomax engines when you want more control. Sorry, no combo deals. Huh. But we don't actually get access to Rockomax engines for a while yet. So, I might just save up for bigger rockets, you know. Because this stuff here, oh, that one gives me access to the kickback. And I know from sandbox mode that I like having the big power that the kickback gives me. Go on, let's get advanced rocketry then. It gives us a bigger fuel tank, which might actually make liquid fuel engines seem vaguely impressive. Awesome. A new step ahead in rocket technology. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I think that's just about enough for this episode. And I hope, like me, you're looking forward to tackling our moon flyby. And then, subsequently, moon landing at some stage after that. Hopefully sooner rather than later. So, thank you all again for joining me. And something I probably should have mentioned on previous videos if anybody's watching me. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, like the video and comment or whatever else. Because, you know, that is kind of handy for me and fun as well. I like reading comments and actually interacting with people. So that would be amazing. In the meantime, thank you very much once again for joining me. And I shall see you all in the next video. Bye-bye.